Hey guys, so today I will be sharing with you my fall unhaul. I'm really excited to be doing this video. As many of you know, I have a lot of books on my TBR and it was a goal of mine this year to get rid of as many as I can. And I did originally want to have my TBR under 100 books. It's not even under 200 books yet, so we still got a ways to go. Even though it is like 35 degrees in Canada, it is officially fall, so I figured what way to say goodbye to summer and hello to fall than with a little bit of decluttering. So right off the bat, you might notice that my background is a little bit different. I had a little bit of a lack of videos because I was redecorating my room. I repainted all of the walls. I did some opposite colors and stuff. So my theme was 2 shades of blush pink with gold accents. I am still working on getting all of my accessories and stuff together. But so far, so good. I finally got my nail polishes put back up. So I had that at my last house, and that's going back about 4 years. So I was anxious to get that set up again. Some motorcycles out for a drive on this beautiful day. So yeah, that's enough of an intro. Let's just get started. So most of these books I've read or given a chance. Only a few of them I haven't read, and of course there is always a guilt that comes along with that. But because they are books that are not grabbing my attention and I don't think they're ones I'm going to enjoy, I'm just going to pass them along locally and hope somebody nearby can get some enjoyment out of them. So I'm going to start with the books I've already read, and the first one I'm getting rid of is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This is my 3rd book of his that I read. I read Coraline, wasn't a fan. I read The Sleeper and the Spindle, and I loved it. So I figured the tiebreaker would be this one, and unfortunately I didn't enjoy it. I think I gave it 2 stars. Magical realism might just not be my genre. I think I just have a hard time wrapping my head around it, and I went into this expecting something other than what I got. So I think I was just disappointed, and it wasn't the book's fault. The writing is really good. I tried listening to it as an audiobook and I couldn't do it. I tried reading the physical book and it was just a struggle to get through. So I don't know. Might as well pass it off to someone that would really enjoy it. The next 2 books I'm not going to talk too much about because you will see my full thoughts in my wrap-up at the end of the month, or I've reviewed them and I will link that down below. So Shooter by Caroline Pignat. I read this month and I was very disappointed with it. I read a lot of school shooting novels. I was writing one of my own at some point, so I think I just hold this type of novels up to a certain standard because I know how important they are in today's society, and I think when they're poorly done, it reflects poorly on the importance of the topic. So this one was just weird. It was typical high school cliches. You get 5 students that are locked in a boys' bathroom together during a lockdown, and they don't seem to understand what a lockdown means. They are texting, they're laughing, they're basically going to get themselves killed because they are drawing attention to themselves. But the story wasn't even about that. It had no true crime aspects or anything in that sense, and instead focused on, I guess, how much it sucks to be a senior in high school, which I'm kind of over that age now. The only redeeming quality about this book was that it was Canadian, so it just made me excited to read about co-op students at Canadian Tire and going to the University of British Columbia or University of Toronto. So that was really the only positive thing I can say about that, but again, I did a full review. Dancing with Molly by Lena Horowitz. I love realistic fiction, dark contemporary novels. They are my go-to. This one was, again, very badly done. I read it at the beginning of the month and I already don't really remember much of what it was about. I remember it being really petty drama, and I remember the girl thinking she didn't have a problem, which, yes, is very typical of an addict and that she can stop at any time, but at the same time she acknowledged that she relied on her drugs, and she acknowledged that she preferred being high than sober, but she didn't have a problem. And I think the character development was really lacking, and the characters were just very flat in general. So there wasn't anything about the plot. It was all very, very typical. There was like a little twist at the end, which I saw coming from a mile away. Is it because I read a lot of these books? Potentially. Is it because it was just basic and generic and just published for the heck of it and to get the publicity? Maybe. I don't know. I just know it wasn't my taste, which is really unfortunate. so I gave it like 1 or 2 stars. The graphic novel I'll be unhauling is Paper Girls Volume 1. This is by Brian K. Vaughan, Cliff Chang, Matt Wilson, and Jared Fletcher. I didn't like this. I went into this with high expectations. I think this is the same guy that did Saga, and I wasn't a fan of Saga, which I know is like beyond unpopular opinion. This one is like young girls that deliver newspapers at like 6 o'clock in the morning, set in 1988, and then it was just weird. I could not explain to you what the plot of this novel is if I tried. Like, I read the entire thing, and I have no idea what it was about. Well, I will not be continuing on with the series. I don't recommend this series, and I genuinely enjoy graphic novels. So then we get to the 2 books that I'm unhauling because I DNF'd. I had no interest in finishing them. The first one is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. This is one I really anticipated. It is like award winners, and I'd seen it everywhere. So I think I picked this up for a readathon last month or the month before. I got about 100 pages in before I DNF'd it. This is another novel whose plot I struggled to explain. I went into it thinking it would be investigating the murder of, I think, this 15-year-old girl who, from the very first line of the book, says that she is dead, but her family and her parents and nobody knows yet. So I thought that's where the story was going to go. That's where the lineup was, and I was really interested in that. It went a complete opposite direction. It went into like the history and the backstory of the family. They are a Chinese-American family in the 1960s, 1970s. So it was weird. I didn't like any of the backstories. There were, I think, supposed to be plot twists, but they weren't twists. They weren't surprising. They were typical and they were boring. The characters were extremely flat, and yeah, I was not a fan. This one I DNF'd the other day, which I was really disappointed in. Binge by Tyler Oakley. I gave this up about 115 pages in, so I made it a little over a third. I feel like if I'd read this a couple years ago, I would have enjoyed it. Like if I'd read it when it first came out, when I was a huge Tyler Oakley fan, I would have plowed through this. I would have loved it. I would have thought he was hilarious, but I think as I grew older, I kind of outgrew his humor. I've read a few YouTube memoirs, and this is the first one I've actually given up on, one of the few that I've not enjoyed. So I don't know if I'm just over that, but I do still enjoy watching YouTuber videos. I don't watch his so much, but I do still support him in all of his endeavors, but I don't know. And then the last 3 are ones that I haven't read yet, but am unhauling for various reasons. The first one is After Alice by Gregory Maguire. Ever since I bought this one, I've heard mixed things, and I did try to return it a couple days after I purchased it, but because it was on bargain, it was a final sale, and I didn't know that. So I gave it a couple pages. I didn't like the writing, and I didn't really get into the story. So it's just so pretty, and it's so textured, but I don't know. I don't think it's my cup of tea, and I haven't read Wicked, so I can't really justify keeping this based on the author. So I'm getting rid of it. Landline by Rainbow Rowell. How I feel about Rainbow Rowell is kind of the same way I feel about Neil Gaiman. I've read 3 of her books. One of them I loved. One of them I didn't hate, but I didn't rate. Eleanor and Park. If you've been with me for a while, you know how I feel about that book. And then last month I read Attachments, where I was like iffy on it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't love it and I didn't hate it. But a lot of you guys told me if I didn't love Attachments, then this one I wouldn't like any better. And I can't say I've ever been drawn to picking it up. I've owned it for so long and it's never called out to me as much as the other ones, and I've read her other books. So I think I'd rather wait until another one of her novels comes out with a plot that sounds interesting and that I know I would enjoy. But this one doesn't stick out to me at all, so there's no point of it taking up space on my shelf and collecting dust when someone could read it. And then the last one is one that I've been sitting on unhauling for probably the entire year, and I have finally decided just to let go. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Yeah. This was on my potential unhaul list, and it never made its way off of that list. And then I did read the first couple of pages, and the writing just didn't stick with me. I know it's supposed to be a slow read, but I didn't understand what I was supposed to be reading. and I didn't care enough to want to push through and try to understand. So for me, that was kind of a red flag that this wasn't a novel I was going to enjoy. I wasn't sucked in, and because I've been on the fence for it for so long, I decided I'm better off passing it off. So yeah, those are the 9 books that I'm getting rid of in this fall unhaul. I will probably have a much bigger one for the end of the year because I love to start off the year for a clean slate, cleaning off my shelves. But yeah, if I think of any more, I will probably do another one of these before then, just because I've been in such a good reading mood. I've read 9 books so far this month, so I'm really excited for my wrap-up. You guys should be too. I've read some really good books. So yeah, I'm finally getting through most of my TBR, and I just want to keep up this momentum. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you soon. Bye.